Hi, well in this video I'm going to talk about multiplying and dividing numbers by 10, 100 or 1000. And these are called powers of 10. If you've got 1 followed by zeros, those are powers of 10. When this happens, the decimal point will move. And the first thing you have to think about is, where is the decimal point? Well, in some numbers, for example this one, the decimal point is where you see it is. It's there between the 2 and the 3. Or let's take another one, 32.4. Where's the decimal point? Well, you can see it there. You see? It's between the 2 and the 4. Or another one. Where's the decimal point? Oh, it's there. You can see it between the 2 and the 5. And the decimal point is very important because it tells you the place value of all the other numbers. So for example, with 2.328, the decimal point is there. That tells us to the number just to the left of the decimal point, the 2, is in the ones or the units column. And we know that the number just to the right of the decimal point is the 3, and that is in the tenths column. Now, some people, when I was at primary school, I had trouble telling my right from my left. And many people have trouble with that. So, I mean, what you can do is, I happen to have an injury on my right hand. So whenever I wasn't sure where my right was, I looked at my injury and I thought, ah, yes, that's the right. And the other hand is the left. You could put a little bit of cotton in your sleeve, something, you know, nothing particularly, it just has to be a little mark or something that you can see that can tell you. It can be quite useful to tell right from left, and then you'll know that that way is right and that way is left, because this is quite important when you're moving your decimal point around. So if, for example, in a number you don't know where the decimal point is, so for example you might have that, if you have that number, or rather I should say, if you can't see the decimal point, I can't see a decimal point in that number. Where is a decimal point? It is always, always, always at the end, and you can put a 0 after it in the tenths column if you want. So for example, 7, where is a decimal point in that number? I can't see a decimal point. I don't know about you. It's at the end, and you can put a 0 there. 325. Can you see a decimal point? No, it's at the end. So that's also very, very important. Okay, so we know where our decimal point is. Now we want to move it, don't we? So you could take, let's take a number like, I'll spread the numbers out a bit. What's this? This is 3,298.365. The decimal point is there. We can see it. So decimal points, they move between the numbers. So this decimal point, if this decimal point decided to move, it would do that. Beep, 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 beep. It would be moving between the numbers before it decided where it was going to stop. Okay, that's quite important. And it's nice to think of the decimal point moving in little loopies like that, in little loops. Okay, so that's how the decimal point is going to move. Now, multiply. If you multiply a number, the number will get bigger, and the decimal point will move to the right. You could also think of the whole number moving to the left. It means the same thing, and this can sometimes be confusing. I like to think of the decimal point moving to the right. For example, if we have 7.8, and let's multiply that by 1 billion. That's a huge, great number. And the decimal point is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Gosh, that's messy, and it's going to end up there. And what you have to do is we have to fill in with the little loopies where the decimal point has been moving zeros. These are placeholders. There's nothing in those columns, but we have to fill it in. So then if we delete all the decimal points movements and we delete this point, we have a very big number. And that's actually approximately the number of human beings, the number of people on the earth. Let's put a 0 after the end one. So the decimal point is moved way to the right. We've multiplied it. It's got bigger. When you multiply something, it gets bigger. Or we could divide, and when we divide something, it gets smaller. But it's like we're chopping it into tiny little pieces, and the decimal point, gosh, my writing's awful, isn't it, moves to the left. For example, 4.4, nice little number there, 4.4. Let's divide it by something. Let's divide it by 1,000,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The decimal point's going to end up there. Zeros have to pop into the little loopies where the decimal point has been, their placeholders. And then if we'll delete all that because it's just a bit messy. The decimal point's no longer there. It's moved now. It's moved. And actually, if we put a kilogram after that, kilogram is a measurement of mass. That is the mass of a grain of sand. It's teeny, teeny, teeny. And the decimal point has moved way over to the left. So when you multiply a number, the decimal point will move right. When you divide a number, the decimal point will move left. Okay, so let's start. If we multiply, if we have 7.8, let's start with multiplying by 10. If we do 7.8 times 10, now 10 has 1 0. So the fact that 10 has 1 0 tells us that the decimal point will move 1 place. Now we're multiplying, so that the decimal point is going to be moved to the right. The number is going to get bigger. So the decimal point's going to do that, and it's going to hop to there, and we're going to end up with 78. So if we want to multiply, let's make some more space for ourselves, shall we? If we want to multiply by 100, 7.8 times 100. There we are, got a 7.8 there. Well, there are 2 zeros in 100, and this tells us a decimal point is going to move 2 spaces. We're multiplying. The decimal point is going to move to the right. The number is going to get bigger. Hoppity hop. It's going to end up there. A placeholder will fall into the loop where it's been, and this will be 780. 780. I shouldn't really put an equal sign there, so to show. So hopefully that's making some sense. Now let's multiply by 1,000. We've got 7.8 times 1,000. Well, let's put our 7.8. We're multiplying, so the number's going to get bigger. The decimal point will move to the right. And we've got 3 zeros in 1,000, so it's going to move 1, 2, 3 spaces. And the zeros, the placeholders will fall into the little loopies, and that's going to end up as 7,800. So let's do division. So for example, let's have 3.2 times, let's do, sorry, divide by 10. Let's do divide by 10 first. Divide by 10. This number is going to get smaller, so the decimal point will move to the left. It's by 10, it has 1 0, so that means the decimal point will move 1 space to the left to that point. There are no sort of empty loopies, so we don't have to bring in any zeros or placeholders, that's 0.32. If we divide by 100, divide by 100, well, in this case, let's move the screen down a bit because we are taking a lot of space, aren't we? With this one, you see the decimal point is, we're dividing, so the decimal point will move to the left. 100 has 2 zeros, so it will move 2 spaces to the left and end up there. And a placeholder, a 0, will move in there, and will end, you can put another one there actually, and it will end up being 0.03. And then let us have a look. Let's divide by 1,000, shall we? Why not? Divide by 1,000. If we got 3.2, divide by 1,000. Well, here's our 3.2. We're dividing, so the decimal point will move to the left. 1,000 has 3 zeros, so it'll go hoppity 1, 2, 3 to there, and placeholders will pop in there, and we're going to end up with 0.0032. There we go. So we've multiplied by 10, 100, 1,000. We've divided by 10, 100, and 1,000. So I do hope the video's been useful, just explaining that. So I like to think of the decimal place moving. You can also think of the number itself moving. But of course, if the decimal point moves to the right, you could think of the number moving to the left. If the decimal point moves to the left, you can think of the whole number moving to the right. Okay, have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye-bye.